Side Decorating Center. Good morning to you on a Friday morning. Kind of a gray, rainy day outside. It beats the alternative, which is coming. More snow. Anyway, we've got open lines from now till 11 o'clock, and then at 11 o'clock we're going to learn about a concert with a cause. That'll be on Focus. We are going to talk about a couple of things, though. In this first hour, I want to spend time talking about time changes, daylight savings time. We've done this ad infinitum for years, and we're still talking about it because nothing's ever been done to change it. So we'll chat about that, but again, it is open phones. I also want to take a moment. You might have heard the promos, but we have a new travel adventure next year. We're looking way ahead now. This is for June 2nd of 2027. The Connoisseur Group here in Saginaw, our family of stations here, has partnered up with Colette Vacations to offer Iceland. It has been a demand destination. I've heard from people who say we'd like to go. So we have put together a trip with Colette, and it's from June 2nd to June 11th. It's called Iceland's Midnight Sun. Glaciers, geysers, and the Golden Circle. We'll bus you down to Detroit, fly you up to Reykjavik, and the trip begins in Reykjavik, and you will do the Golden Circle, and you'll visit Akranes, Borgarnes, Ólafsvík. Notice how I'm pronouncing these names. I looked them up. Reynisvara. I can't do it otherwise, I'll tell you that. And the one that really got me was Jökulsárlón. But we will visit all of these great places and then fly home. And we have a digital flyer available if you email me, artlewis@wsgw.com. We will be happy to send you that information. And also in March, Ed McKenna from Colette is going to come up and do a presentation on the trip. It's going to be at Miles Market, and we will send you all of that information along with the brochure. So again, it's artlewis@wsgw.com. We are expecting this will sell out because not only are we promoting it on WSGW AM and FM, but our other stations in the market, our sister stations, are also promoting it. So we imagine we will have a pretty good crowd for this one. So I just wanted to bring it up, point it out to you. All right. So daylight savings time, standard time, every year at this time, twice a year actually, this time and in the fall, it becomes a topic of discussion. And the discussion revolves around, first of all, should we even change times? Or should we have one time setting year-round? And then once you get past that, if the answer is yes, we should have a single time change, a single time with no change, then the next question, obviously, is which one do you keep? Do you keep standard time? Or do you keep daylight savings time? Or is there something else we could do? We were kidding about it this morning on the morning team because there is a proposal which I think will fly nowhere. You know, if we've not been able to come to terms with daylight savings time or standard time, this one has no chance. It was a proposal from Representative Greg Steube, a Republican of Florida, and he calls this the Daylight Act of 2026. He's actually introduced this in Congress. And what he's suggesting is, since we can't come to terms with standard time or daylight savings time, that in the best interest of the country, we should compromise and go half time. It would shift all of our time zones 30 minutes from the current standard time. And then that would be permanent. Well, that's got, to me, it's got about as much chance as a plant that needs water growing up in the desert. In other words, none. It's bad enough we have to change times 1 hour, but having to reset literally the entire world on a 30-minute change, and then you keep it there. It's only a one-time change, but then you keep it there forever, would be extremely disruptive. Extremely. Now, my personal preference, and this is just my preference, not based on anything, I'm a fan of daylight savings time. I don't care when I get up in the morning if I go to work and it's dark out. But I do like the additional time in the evening, particularly in the summer when it's light past 9 o'clock many times. Now, I understand there is an argument for youngsters going to school, getting on buses, and all of that stuff. But that doesn't seem to have impacted them very much, since most of the time they're in the dark when they go to school. So what would be different? Think about that. Most of the time, they're in the dark because it doesn't really get light in the early morning, and 6, 7 o'clock, let's say, until probably get into late April, May, maybe mid-May. So I am a daylight savings time fan. I like the evening hours. And that's, again, just me. I would, though, prefer that there not be a change. I would prefer that we have one time and we never have to remind ourselves again. The only thing that worries me about that is there is another purpose for the time change. Theoretically, that's when we should be checking our smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. And if the time change goes away, are we going to forget to do that and risk our safety? So I would want to have some kind of promotion once or twice a year to remind everybody to check their smoke detectors and their carbon monoxide detectors in their homes and businesses. Because right now it's you hear the message every time there is a time change. We're going to spring ahead here in another week or two, and you'll be reminded to check your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. And that's fine. That's a good thing. So I'd want to find a way to have that message put out there twice a year so that we all remember to do that. But otherwise, if the time change continues as it is now, so what? We've lived with it for decades and decades and decades. It hasn't ruined life. It's one of those things that's there. Maybe you'd like to do something different, something better. But if you don't, so what? Life goes on. It's just one of those things. But it becomes to the forefront every year at this time and in the fall. So the question on the table to you is, if you want time change to go away, in other words, should we have one single time year-round? And if so, Which one and why? 989-752-6111 to participate in our little unofficial, unscientific poll. Give us a call.
People don't like me.
Hi, we're back with you on the Art Lewis Show. 989-752-6111, talking about daylight savings time and standard time and which one you'd prefer if we only had one. But again, it is open phone, so whatever you'd like to chat about, we'd be happy to chat with you. Give us a call and we'll get you on to get the conversation started. Here on a rather dreary is the word that comes to mind in terms of the weather. Anyhow, let's go to Freeland and we'll talk to Cam this morning. Cam, good morning.
Good morning, Art. I'd like to make a comment, probably something that most people aren't really thinking about as far as the time change. I think I've talked to you in the past about officiating high school and college sports.
Yeah.
And one of the problems we run into this time of year, as softball and baseball are starting, is games getting too dark as we get into the later innings of the second game. So if I am given, as an umpire, an issue that we would run into if they stay with it getting darker earlier, that's going to really inhibit the games. I mean, I don't know what they'll do about that. You can, for baseball, you could almost not even have a second game because it would get dark so early. And, Clint Eastwood once said in one of his movies, a man's got to know his limitations. And my limitation as an umpire was always deciding when to end the second game because it's getting too dark. And I would always tell the umpires that I was working with, help me out with that, because I'm terrible at making that decision. I want the game to go as long as we can, and like bad luck would have it, it usually got too dark to finish the inning, and we'd have to stop it and go back to the previous inning. And if somebody had rallied in the top of the inning, now they're losing that, and they ended up mad. If it gets darker earlier, that's going to just compound that problem.
I'm laughing, Cam. I just thought of a joke. Don't take it the wrong way. But it's really funny hearing an umpire say this because most people think you're blind.
Yeah. Well, I think I told you the story about stopping a game one time when a lady said, I've seen better eyes on a potato.
Yeah, I remember that.
Stopped the game, went over and shook her hand and said, thank you for some new material. And we all ended up laughing about it. There was just something about her countenance that I knew I could do that and it wouldn't go badly. But yeah. I mean, some people, if you go over and try to shake their hand, you might pull back a stump. But, for some reason, I knew I could do that with that lady. But,
I appreciate, Joe. Seriously, I appreciate the view that you offer up. Because it's true that there's a lot of activities take place in the evening, and it'd be nice to have it relatively light.
Yeah. It would definitely affect high schools and most little leagues around the country, or around this area for sure. Do not play on lighted fields, and we run into the same problem with that because we got multiple games on a field. And they stray later into the evening, and you're going to be. It's just an issue that most people probably wouldn't think of, but yeah, that would definitely affect high school sports, and as we go along, little league baseball games later in the year. So
yeah,
just wanted to point. If I get a vote, I say it stays daylight later in the day.
All right. Good enough, Cam.
You have
Appreciate it.
Have a blessed day out.
You
Art.
too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye now. Cam in Freeland, and it's an interesting point, as, you know, from his perspective as an umpire. So he'd rather have the evening lighter, which I agree with. How about you? And I have to be honest, you know, we could talk about this till we're blue in the face. In reality, for whatever reason, history has taught us not to get too excited about the possibility, because it has just died in Congress year after year after year. Sometimes it makes it through one House or Senate vote, but never both. And the attempts have been made. I mean, the attempts are well documented on how to, how to change the time. So there you go. But anyway, the time change this year, when we spring forward, is just over 2 weeks away. And so here's the conversation again. It's regular. You know, we spring forward, we fall back, and all that good stuff. So when you go to bed on March 7th, or if you're up in the middle of the night on March 8th, set your clocks and take the time to check your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. That's the one nice thing about the time change, is it does bring that to the forefront. And you can then check them and replace batteries, which is a good thing. Been some other things in the news to talk about. One of them, this one was a surprise. But with all the talk of tariffs, and the purpose of tariffs to reduce the trade deficit, bring other countries in line that are taking advantage of us, here is the headline for December. U.S. trade deficit widened in December. 2025 goods trade gap highest on record, despite President Trump's tariffs on foreign manufactured merchandise. The trade gap ballooned 32.6% to $70.3 billion. Now, I would say this. I think part of that is because we went on buying binges, afraid that the tariffs were going to raise prices, which inevitably they would. And so a lot of imported goods were bought in that run-up and during the tariff talks. That could account for at least some of this deficit increasing, this trade deficit, because we went on a buying binge and bought more than usual, and companies were trying to offload their foreign products by shipping them in and selling them. So that's just, it's one way of looking at it, I guess. But it did surprise me a little bit, because you would have thought that with all the hullabaloo about the tariffs and what they would do and how they were forcing companies to think about building here and reducing tariffs on our products, you would expect that not only would there end the deficit, you would expect we'd go into positive territory. Didn't happen that way. Not yet, anyway. Time will tell. Time will tell. You may have been following this story It has to do with a coal plant in Michigan, the last one around, and the government forcing it to stay open. We'll talk about that in a minute. We've got to take a break first, and then we will come back. Let's talk about tires. We do this every day because, winter is not over. Just look at the forecast. We're liable to get a couple inches of snow coming up this weekend, inch or two. So you really need to make sure you're driving on the right tires. And those right tires are winter tires because they're not the same as all-season tires. And you can stop by our friends at Quick Lane Freeland, where all of their tires are just $5 over cost. And they will be happy to look at your tires and explain the difference between those and winter tires. And I've asked John from Quick Lane Freeland to do that to us.
Hello, Art. Yes, winter tires are made with a pliable rubber compound that includes silica to stay flexible and maintain grip in freezing temperatures. Unlike harder all-season tires, which stiffen and lose traction in the cold, this flexible compound allows the tire to better conform to the road surface, providing superior grip and traction on snow and ice to keep you safe.
And thanks, John, because that's what it's all about, keeping you safe. Stop in today, have your tires checked, have your cooling system checked. All of your routine maintenance can be done at Quick Lane Freeland on the McDonald Ford property. And while you're there waiting for your car to be serviced, you can walk on over and take a look at all the new Ford models on the McDonald Ford lot and their extensive pre-owned collection of cars, too. McDonald Ford and Quick Lane Freeland both stand ready to help you with your automotive needs in 2026.
Gotta go.
Back with you here on WSGW. Back to our phones. Let's talk to Carl in Saginaw. Carl, good morning.
Good morning, Art. I think your word dreary is spot on for today.
Yeah.
It's gray and it's damp and it's just wet and
all of that.
So I'm looking forward to daylight savings time. I much prefer to have the daylight in the evening. If it could stay that way all year, I'd be a happy camper.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
you mentioned a few minutes ago, you started talking about the trade deficits.
yeah.
Did you notice, was that for the fourth quarter or was that for the whole year of 25? Did you notice that?
It widened in December. The trade deficit widened sharply in December amid a surge in imports, and the goods shortfall in 2025 was the highest on record. The trade gap, let's see. This was the December numbers, I guess.
Okay.
Let me continue on here. Trade deficit narrowed for the year. For the year, the trade deficit narrowed 0.2% to $901.5 billion. The goods trade gap, whatever that is, widened 2.1% to an all-time high of $1.24 trillion. There's a lot of numbers on this stuff that none of us understand.
Yes.
But
the
fact that it widened in December, that's the buying time.
You wouldn't think so.
Well, no, you would in December. Maybe you
wouldn't
would
expect that.
Well, maybe you would though, because that's when we go out and we buy everything, and Most of what we buy is coming from overseas, it seems. So it would be logical that
Well-
December would be a time to see a big increase because of Christmas and holidays and all that.
Yeah, but I also heard they said something about consumer spending being down and the GDP for the fourth quarter being down.
I
Or-
hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah. Well, Art, I wanted to ask you, and I know this is kind of tricky subject, but you've seen the videos that Trump put up about the Obamas with the ape bodies,
Never should have happened.
and no, and I saw yesterday a poll that 46% of people in this country think Trump is a racist.
Well, so what? What's surprising about that?
Oh, I guess nothing. I
I mean,
guess
nothing. I mean,
I guess
it's I'm not surprised, but that's still less than half. But the fact is,
yeah.
the fact is that things happened during his administration, which might lead one to believe, if he's got his hand on it, that he's, he offers up those tendencies. Actually, it's one of those great contradictions of life. I mean, here's a guy who realistically probably did more economically for minority communities than most others, and has, continued to do that, and yet at the same time makes these kind of gaffes, whether it was him or whether it was a staffer, I don't know. But it's a real conflict. I don't, it's just, well, it's no big secret. I like his policies. I don't like him. So I'm not surprised. I don't like his mouth, basically.
Right.
I don't like his
I
mouth,
also
and I
saw
don't
in the-
like his self-aggrandizement, and
Right.
I can live without all
Art,
of that.
how do you feel about all the money that Trump and his family are making right now? They're just
Well,
business
let's
deals.
start
and-
with this. Trump's not making it; his family's making it, because he's had to. He steps as president. He's out of the decision-making processes in the family business. His sons are running it, and when he gets back out of office, if he comes back into the business, which undoubtedly he will, so be it. I mean, if they're making good business decisions, more power to them. I don't ever get jealous of people making money if they're making good business decisions, whether it's Trump or
Well, are
anybody
they?
else. Whether it's Trump
Or are they getting paid for influence?
I don't know. How do you think Nancy Pelosi made all her money? Seems
Well,
to work both
yeah,
ways.
But
Oh no! What? No! Whoa! 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 Why is
there?
there a but? Why isn't one good for the goose, good for the gander?
Maybe because of the scale.
Yeah,
The
she's
billions of dollars, the billions with a B.
all right. So she's
The
made
Trump family
she's
is
made-
raking in.
she's made tens of millions. Okay, so it's a smaller number. Wow. Besides, the family has a
So
right
you're
to
okay-
rake. If the family is making business decisions and are profiting from their business decisions, that's the American way. I love it. More power to them. If they're using
Okay, but how?
if they're if they're selling his influence, I would be dead set against that. But
Well,
that
in my
hasn't been
opinion, they are.
demonstrated to me. Well,
Well,
in my
come on,
opinion,
Art.
in my
Come on.
opinion, becoming president of the United States makes your name valuable.
Yeah, but nobody's ever monetized it like this before. I mean, the scale is
Nobody's
just
been a
off the
businessman
charts.
like this before.
Oh yeah, he's such a great businessman. That's what
Well,
history
all right.
has
Have you
shown
made
us.
billions?
What
He
a
has.
great businessman he is.
Yeah, well, he's made billions, so you may not like it, but
Okay,
he's got
well,
it. All right, I got to run here.
50% of the
Late.
people believe he's corrupt.
Good for them. So the next time they won't vote
Okay.
for him.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.